we will put the absolute best in quality product into this jar because I'm not putting any low grade dog food in there if my best friend's name is going to be on the jar. Glen's call sign in the Navy was BUBS, and BUBS stood for two things: self-improvement and helping others. I was like, okay, we'll start this brand as a tribute to Bub and his way of life, this tribute to Glen and the great things that he stood for. We'll give 10% of all profits to charity because he was always helping others right to the very end of his life. And I didn't know if it was going to work. It was a total social experiment. And I'm like, we're going to call the company BUBS. I called two of Glen's SEAL teammates that I'm friends with. I called Glen's mom. I called his sister and brother. I'm like, what do you guys think? And they all said the same thing. Glen would kick your ass if you don't do this. And that was it. I had to learn about sourcing. I had to learn about the product. I had to take a total career shift into product, but I knew I believed in it and I had that stoke. Like the stoke was there.
As you've been telling this whole story, it was very clear that while he was living, he had such a big impact on you and pushed you. He's still pushing you in so many ways, like through this brand. And it's almost like you've created the most beautiful skin in the game for yourself and your team and your family, because there's no option to fail.
Shaun, welcome to the podcast, brother.
Hey man, thanks for having me.
Half it done, so
It's what you want. You want that rolling intro. Yeah. Just get right into the good stuff.
I mean, we could have just ripped the first 15 minutes and released it, honestly.
Yeah. Well, we're done, right? We're good here.
yeah. Well, what we learned in the pre-show convo, we're in the presence of a fellow East Coaster, which is comforting. Brett also lived out in San Diego. You live in San Diego now. Got a lot in common.
Yeah.
So.
San Diego's not a bad place to drop anchor.
No,
not at all. Especially when you get to go to Austin to visit. Like they're, twist my arm for those work trips.
Yeah, I was only out there for a year, but it was one of the best years of my entire life. And I just felt like how the difference between Austin and San Diego is that the culture and community here is fantastic. And obviously is in San Diego too. But I felt like I almost didn't need to work super hard to feel very good and very healthy and low stress just being near the ocean.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you feel that as well.
Yep. My office is literally one block from the ocean, this little beach break, a little reef break called Beacons. And like, there's a little pathway down to it. And I'll just take calls and I'm like, oh, I gotta be like focused on this call, but hey, there's note takers now and other people are going to be organized for it. Or if I just have to listen in, I can just go for a little walk up on the bluff. I'm like, oh, they're the waves. Here's nature. Here's a little bit of, sunshine or ocean. It's the whole space is super calming. It's pretty epic.
Do you feel like you can basically do all the activities that you want to do on a regular basis in San Diego? Like,
yeah. So I grew up more individual sport based stuff. So, which kind of fed into the gym life that I have now. But like I tried all the team sports as a kid. Like I sucked at baseball. Which is really funny because I'm like the assistant coach on my kid's little league baseball team. And I'm like, I'm so unqualified to be doing this. I'm like still learning those plays. I'm like, oh, that's why shortstop covers second and second covers short. I just thought the ball got hit and someone just ran to the base and covered it. Now I've got the strategy down. But I kind of gravitated towards individual sports, and that led to skateboarding and punk rock music and snowboarding and all the sideways sports. Like that was for like my teenage years. I was like, oh, this is rebellion. Like I'm all in for rebellion. And this isn't like trying to skateboard in Massachusetts in the 80s in the dead of winter. There's not a lot of us out there doing this. And it was incredibly impactful and super fun and definitely formative. So I was always on this migration to get out west. When I settled in San Diego, and we talk a little bit about why, I was surprised at how much of that culture was out there. Like I knew surfing was out there and I knew skateboarding was out there, but I didn't realize how much of snowboard culture was all in Southern California. And I'm like, oh, I'm 2 hours away from Big Bear, which is like, this iconic local resort for snowboarding and skiing to a lesser extent. Oh, Snow Summit's right next door to it. Oh, sweet. Then there's this like little resort called Baldy that, you can get sneaker powder days. I'm like, powder in Southern California? Like I thought it was all man-made snow. So then I realized you can skateboard anywhere. You can surf right outside the back door. It's got the best trail running and some pretty good mountain biking right there. So all my like adventure outdoor things are there. And for me, getting into fitness in a more substantial way in my late 30s, it was the epicenter of CrossFit. So obviously CrossFit's kind of had its heyday and it's gone up and then it's kind of come, I wouldn't say crashing down, but it's definitely hit its plateau and on the down cycle. But back then in like 2008, it was like this total unknown, up and coming, almost cultish like sport. So I was like, oh, there's a CrossFit gym right down the street from my house, right next to the surf break. And I'm a 2-hour drive to be in the mountains or a 90-minute flight to Utah. So I found that being in San Diego is really convenient to do all of those things and then just live in a super temperate, gorgeous environment. So I like it.
It's worked for you.
It's worked for me.
Yeah, well, it's cool just having, you know, your collagen here, your MCT oil powder, the instant coffee as well. And the reason why I'm saying that is with us with Noble being, you know, newer founders, you're always, you know, you're trying to learn from different founders and social media. And it's, you know, there's so much information. You're trying to figure out what's the blend of all these things that works for us and what we're trying to do. And I think we take a lot of like, you know, we get refreshed talking to guys like you, where you prioritize building this incredible business while also doing the things that you love on a daily basis. Like one of the things Harry and I were saying, you know, we just started, especially for me, I started realizing, hey, I'm on my computer so much. I stopped walking outside in the sun, which was what I was doing in San Diego when I really felt that urge to create as much content as possible. So I don't know, man, you just like, you know, you have the thing that works and then maybe you drift away from it and then you figure out, hey, here are the things I need to do on a daily basis to feel like the best version of myself.
Yeah, it's a great concept because you're actually way better than most folks because you actually tuned in on that. And you're like, I'm not doing this thing that has helped get me to where I am today. What happened there? And for me, it's like surfing sometimes. Like I'll go months without surfing. And I'm like, there's an ocean right behind me. Why the hell? I'm like, oh, I'm so busy doing this, and this. And then I remember like what this company was founded on, or like what our ethos is. And I'm like, I got to get outside and go do some fun stuff. And then you get that fire, you get that stoke back, or whatever your thing is for, like, I call it a stoke. Like if I can get stoked, I'm all in on the work stuff. There's always the boring work stuff. Like someone's got to do that grind. I'm going to guess it's Chad for some of the operational needs here.
If
Thank you.
That's going to go well if Chad's doing it.
Yeah. If it's something that's going to get a little bit loose, that's what we're here for, guys. But like you need to do those hard things. You don't have to be great at them. I think that's a misconception with founders and with like anyone at the leadership role of a company, is that you have to be great at everything. That's an impossibility. The sooner you realize that, the more peace you're going to have with the things you're not really good at. But you do have to feed yourself in order to perform well. And I don't obviously mean the food part. I mean your soul. Like for me, it's getting outdoors, and I can scratch that itch with a 4 or 5 mile run and feel good, or a classic CrossFit workout. And then like I'm energized and I can go into the shit. I can go into the crap stuff at work and approve labels or make sure the bills are paid with NSF for sport, or, do whatever those things are that aren't sexy, but they need to get done. And if you're in the leadership role, you need to empower your team. And if you don't have a team, because you guys are on the newer side of that, you need to empower each other and to really get it all done. But that only comes if you've got, a good baseline. You have to feed that baseline. And I learned that the hard way. Like, I'm 7 years in on this journey, and there was a good couple of years there where I was living at this like high stress peak level. And I was like, somewhere along the way, I'm like, it almost stopped being fun. And that's when I was at a huge moment of inflection. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? And, when it stops being fun, man, you're going to forget it. You're going to make a change. Your body's going to make a change. Your mind's going to make a change. Something's going to fail because you're taking your eye off the prize.
It's almost the most important metric when you're doing it. And it kind of sounds like elementary or almost stupid, being like, you should be optimizing for fun within the business. But I feel like if you actually want to embody your product and like be able to genuinely love every aspect of creating it, you need to enjoy like the bad stuff, like find joy in this, in, going through the Slack channels and approving labels and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, I'll put it to you guys. You guys have an incredibly clean design aesthetic. That didn't just happen. You didn't just draw on a napkin and land where you got to. It's a process, but it's a really fun process, if you can embrace it. You guys have flavors. You have vanilla, you have chocolate, you have flavors that you arrived at. You didn't just take the first flavor that, some co-packer said, here you go, here's chocolate. You went, no, no, no. What's our chocolate? And look, you're working with a meat-based protein source. Like that has its challenges, and you rose to those challenges. Well, you can't do that well if you're not absolutely stoked, if you're not fired up, if it's not fun. And you get there, like that first ideation of like, what are we going to do? How are we going to come together and make this thing happen? Capturing that magic is essential. And then feeding that so that when it is a slog and the first time you get sued for like ADA compliance on your website sales, and you're like, oh man, this sucks. And you realize it's okay. We got this. And you know, those things get energized from that baseline of like remembering why you're doing it and being energized by that.
Remembering why you do it, that's so important, right? One of the things that Harry and I talk a lot about now is just making time to actually prioritize the friendship too. Cause it's so we hit this pattern where we're like, yeah, we're roommates, we're co-founders, like we're all in on this thing, but you almost take for granted like just this incredible journey and the fact that we're living together as well, that we realize, hey, when's the last time like I just asked Harry how he was doing on a personal level, and when did we just go get a steak and not even really talk about business, but just talk about each other's personal lives and stuff like that too. For you were saying, so you started BUBS 2017, and then there was a period where it was not fun, and then you kind of gained that magic back. What period did it stop becoming fun? And then how did you actually start having fun again?
So it was really fun through the pandemic. It was a wild growth period. And we were a bootstrapped young company. I had a partner, and he and I worked really hard together, like just side by side. And during the pandemic, he decided he'd had enough of San Diego. He wanted out, and he started moving around the country into different spots and kind of finding out where he was going to land. And he's a bit of a digital nomad. So for him, it was great. Now, I am an office person. Like I have 2 young kids, so working from home is kind of impossible. You guys will see this one day. And I like the structure of going to an office. I love being able to work remote. Like, hey, I got a couple hours of stuff done just, on the way to Austin and then being here. But I like the office, and I like building a team. I think when you can foster a great culture and get folks to really believe in the thing that you're doing or building, or we are building, and there's always a we when you're building a team, I love that. So we had philosophical differences that ultimately led to just a fracture in the relationship. We didn't have like a core friendship the way you guys do, but we were thick as thieves. I mean, you're working long hours, you're grinding it out. Every day is, are we going to make it? Are we not? You celebrate the hits. You get bummed on the misses, but you learn a ton in that time. And eventually, we get through 2021. We went through an FDA recall. We can talk about that as well. Like the worst things that could happen happened to us. No faults of our own, but things happen. And, bad things happen to good people, and, it is what it is. And we did a raise. We raised some money, which was a phenomenal experience. I mean, talk about time consuming. But after that, we just, we shifted. We had a different focus on where we thought the business was going to succeed. And we weren't together in a room to hash it out. So that just sort of creates more and more of a fracture. And it hit a breaking point. So I'd say by 2023, I knew that it was done. I just didn't know how done it was. And I was like, well, we can just be working partners. We don't need to be friends. We don't need to have a relationship. We just need to be able to work well together. And by 2024, it was just straight up toxic. Just, okay, we're not really clicking or speaking. And then it started to invade the team. So I'm in the office, I'm with the team, and they started to get affected by it. I'm like, okay, now we've got collateral damage. Now they're not going to work as well. And it was really coming to a head. And right when it was going to come to a head, he ended up resigning, taking another job.
Wow.
And I was like, oh. So when did the stoke come back? About a year ago.
Wow.
And it came back flooding in.
Really?
Like, oh my God, I feel awesome. And it's not his fault. We just had a different way of thinking of how we thought the company was meant to be run. And I was really, pretty passionate about how I feel it should be run. And he was very much opinionated and passionate about how he felt it should be run. And when he decided to leave, I was like, well, I'm going to take my shot. And boy, if I'm wrong, then we won't have a company much longer,
Yeah.
which was pretty much how he felt it was going to go. And it didn't go that way. So that's why I get to sit here now and I'm just got this big old smile on my face because in the last, 8 months or so, it's just been this awesome, ramp up and rocket ship, which has just been like, yes, now we're ready to go take some really big swings, have a ton of fun along the way. And just that stoke came back. And it's back for the whole team. So I was already nurturing those outside things, but now like the team has all felt it and we're celebrating the wins together. And that, again, that helps out a ton. So, and this is it, you guys are early on that roller coaster, but the better you keep that relationship, the more in touch with that you guys are. And, and also building good fences so that when to give space, when to help each other out. Like, hey, you're going on vacation, you've got the helm and vice versa. And having each other's back, essential.
Totally. That's so exciting that you guys, have been picking up steam the last year. I feel like when the tides start shifting, it touches like every area of the business. Everyone can feel it. It's so huge. One of my business principles is just that you should treat your co-founder relationship like a marriage. Like, I feel like it's very easy to kind of just be like, let's make this transactional, like put it on paper. And, we got all these like, bylaws that kind of like govern the relationship in the business, which is like just so not how it actually ends up working. And it's like, you have to have like a similar approach and values that you're basing the philosophy of the business on. So it's tough when you have conflicting, just like philosophical beliefs from the get-go on how the business should actually be run.
Yeah, it makes it incredibly tough. It's like, hey, I want the superhuman sticky business. I want to really like know our customers and like have a relationship with them. Well, that's authentic, but it's super time consuming to do it right. And like, I want to write personal emails to random customers and I want to have that connection point with them and foster their engagement with our brand. I'm going to deliver the absolute best product experience that they could have. But, like everyone knows who Vital Proteins is. Like, oh, there is this collagen brand called Vital Proteins. I can get it at Costco. I can get it at Whole Foods. I can get it anywhere. Well, not a lot of people know that it's just another Nestle brand. And there's no real personality to it unless you count, hiring Jennifer Aniston. And that's fine. But I don't want that for us. I want people to seek adventure in life. I want folks to reach for, big, aggressive living, like whatever that looks like for you. It could be running your first 5K. Like, that's awesome. Like, could be getting outside and taking your first day where you actually do a full 10,000 steps. Could be somebody Mount Everest. Whatever that use case is, I want to be there to inspire and I want to be there to answer questions and authentically connect with that audience. And my co-founder just wanted more of an AI kind of outsourced approach to that. And it was scalable, I guess, but it would have drifted us into a lane that I didn't feel was right for us. It wasn't authentic. It wasn't that kind of stickiness that I felt we had done a really good job of fostering those first couple of years. And, from data points, like I've got a pile of customers who at this point have purchased from us more than 100 times. More than 100 times. I mean, hundreds of customers at more than 100 times. So like,
So many purchases.
it's a lot of
People are
purchases.
ordering from a brand 100 times. How many brands have you? That's incredible.
Zero.
Like
That's
once
what you guys are doing.
and like, if you look at that, you're like, okay, Shaun, you've been in business for 7 years. That means if they order from you every month, then yeah, that's about 100 purchases. And I look at that, I'm like, holy cow, like how do we celebrate these people?
Like, those people are your business.
They
Those-
are our business.
Yeah.
And now I've got the next lineup of people who've only purchased once or twice. How do I get them over 100? Well, I'm going to keep delivering a great product, but people drift. I get it, but how do I continue to earn that business? How do I continue to earn that sense of community and that give back and all the things that we stand for? Well, it's going to happen with real human effort. You can't outsource that. And AI's got a place, don't get me wrong, but you have to put the human first. And so that was just something that, I believed on. I think he believed in it. He just believed it could be done through AI and ultimately, it just wasn't there. So,
Yeah.
but after he chose to leave, And, we didn't honor the marriage, to be clear. Like, that's a phenomenal way of looking at it. But it's kind of like after the breakup, like you go through a small period of mourning or whatever, and then you wake up and like, oh, damn,
Yeah. I'm for
the world looks so different now. Like my whole lens has changed and it's amazing. And then you take that energy, that stoke, if you will, and you double down. And all of a sudden, like you're looking at ads and you're like, yeah, I like that. How about tweaking this copy here? Hey, I've been thinking about this new product. Oh, I love new products. And the team feeds off that. Like they get that energy. And then all of a sudden they level up a little bit and they're like coming to you with new ideas. And then, as leaders, you realize, well, it doesn't have to be my idea. It just has to be a good idea. So then you're, letting people go and just run with it. And that's just been insane to see the team like come to me and be like, hey, I think we should do this. And I'm like, you think it's a good idea? Yeah. Here's rope. Don't hang yourself. But like literally give them the rope. Let them go do it. Take that swing. And that's been, again, a lot of fun. So
Yeah, especially when you have a really talented team too. And their whole mindset for a long time was like, where is this company going to go? Because Shaun and the other co-founder, they're not getting along. So they're kind of playing down. They're trying to just maintain. And then when you have really talented people, now that it's just your vision, now they're stepping up because they are talented. And probably the more ownership you give them,
oh yeah,
the better they're doing and the better the ideas are.
Yeah, I'll never forget one of them, this young kid, Colby. He goes, oh yeah, so I guess mom and dad are fighting, huh?
Yeah.
I was like, yep, mom and dad are fighting. And I'm like, holy cow, this is the divorce.
Yeah.
And he's funny because he's a very kid of very few words, like first job out of college. And I'm like, what do you want to own? And he's like, I want to own email. I'm like, bold move, Cotton.
Yeah.
All right, you're 23. You want to own email? Let's get into it. And next thing I know, he's owning email. It takes months and he builds it up and he's like, I want to learn Klaviyo. I want to take these courses. And I'm like, rock on, man. Like, pull me in for when you want me to write an email. He's like, don't worry, I'll edit it afterwards. I'm like, fair. And that's where we got started that way. And, with him, take that step. With, I've got a gal who runs affiliate named Jana, and Jana's like, she's like, okay, she doesn't want to spend the company's money. She's very, concerned about that. I'm like, go spend some money. I hired a phenomenal VP of marketing, started about half a year ago, and he's in the same boat. He's like, I'm going to give you some money. How do you want to spend it? And it's like, oh, there's a lot of fear in that. Like, you don't want to spend money on marketing and have it not work, but you got to spend money on marketing to see what works.
Definitely.
So giving the team that empowerment has been phenomenal, and just being right there to help them. Like, hey, I'm here. If you're concerned about a question, you're concerned about an area that you want to move into, like, hey, let's talk about it. But it's been neat because we've been able to get really narrow and a lot more focused and drill a lot deeper into the channels that we think are going to make sense for us and where we can actually get our message out, whether it's, the foundation story of why we launched, whether it's the quality and integrity of what we do, and being able to drill in on those things, as deep as we need to, instead of like being spread too thin across a bunch of stuff. And you guys will experience that too, because there's a lot of shiny things out there.
There's so many shiny things, and they all sound really good.
And we love shiny things, guys.
That's the founder's like worst trait. It's just chasing the shiny stuff.
Yep. We use, have you guys ever heard of the EOS system, traction?
Yep.
So we're adherents of traction, and that's also new. Like, that couldn't happen until now. And now that we're half a year into it, we've been slowly, incrementally rolling it out with the team, and we're doing our rocks, and I'm doing my annual rocks, and then I'm doing my first quarter rocks. And sorry for your listeners who don't know, these are basically smaller goals, like micro goals. They're not boulders, they're rocks. They're meant to be bite-sized. And mine is like, don't chase squirrels. Just don't chase squirrels. I'm like, God damn it, there's a squirrel and I can catch it if I just. It's part of it.
That's that snowboarder in you that moved out to Utah when you were 19 or was it Utah?
It was Utah. Yeah, the first spot I moved to was I went from Boston to Utah.
Do you think that vision is kind of your superpower? It clearly was with you when you were going for the snowboarding and chasing that professionally, but is that kind of your superpower in the entrepreneurial lens?
It's funny. I never really looked at superpowers early on. I was like, when I was in high school, we had this like this really funny end of the year thing where you all vote into your yearbook, and you've got every student's name. It's like, who's going to be, athlete of the year, who's going to be most likely to succeed, who's going to be most popular. And we had one that was a really funny one called most likely to ... I want it, like, yep,
Like, what's he gonna do?
completely on brand. What the hell is this guy going to do? So going off to become a professional snowboarder was like, yes, I completely ticked that box. Like, why not drop out of college and chase a dream that nobody does? There's like, 50 pro snowboarders in the world. I'm like, I can totally do this. But I had to chase adventure. I had to go after and take a big swing. And I can't say that like I thought about it intellectually. It was fully passion driven. And I mean, I never forget telling my mom and dad that I was going to drop out of college, and my parents were divorced. And I told my mom, and she was like, good, because you're wasting my money in college right now, getting mediocre grades, not applying yourself, and just partying and not paying attention. I was literally, after my freshman year in college, I was 18, turning 19. She's like, you should drop out. Go figure it out and get back to work. Like, go scratch whatever itch you got. And my dad gave me the ditch digger speech. He was like, oh, you're gonna drop out of school, huh? Well, the world needs ditch diggers too. And I'm like, oh no, you did not say that. Like, hat's going backwards. So I was like, well, now I'm gonna make it.
Yeah.
Now this isn't just to take 1 year off and scratch an itch. No, I'm going all in. And I chased that dream down, and I had a ton of fun along the way, but it was the adventures. It was like, can I use snowboarding and get a free trip to Europe? Yes, I can. Can I go to Alaska and go heli skiing? Yes, I can. And can I get snowboarding to pay my rent? Yes, you can. But it was like, you're putting in years and years of effort to get there, but it was worth it. I was having adventures every day. I developed lifelong friendships, in those early 20s years, of people that are still my friends and brothers today. And that adventure spirit carried with me. I didn't really think of it again in those terms. Like, I've always referred to my career as nonlinear. Like, I thought I had a plan, and then I changed the plans like 15 different times. When I dropped out of college to be a pro snowboarder, and then I made it as a pro snowboarder, the goal then was snowboard at the highest level that you can, like, have as much fun as you can. When I was turning 25, I'll never forget this. I had a conversation with my best friend. So my best friend growing up is a guy named Glen Doherty. He'll come back into this conversation. And Glenn and I were both from Winchester, Massachusetts. We both moved to Snowbird to Utah together. And then he's a year older than me. So I was 24. He was just turning 25. And he's like, hey, if I haven't made it as a pro skier, because he wanted to be a pro skier. So we were doing the same adventure track. He's like, if I haven't made it this year, I'm going to join the Navy and become a Navy SEAL. And I was like, wait, what? I'm like, what? You don't want to go back to college? And he's like, no. I'm like, that's funny, because like, I've been thinking about it, and you can't help but think about those things because it's ingrained in you since you're a kid, to make the next big step in life. And all of our friends had graduated college. All of them were in the workforce, and they'd been in the workforce for a couple of years. They were in Manhattan doing, corporate banking or investments or this or that, or one was, going off to law school. And Glenn and I were ski bums. Like, I painted houses in the summer. He was a lifty, or, waiting tables in a restaurant. And every one of our friends had knocked out their paper, and, they're all at work. And we're like, we need to do the next thing. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go back to school. Like, I've been feeling this urge. And the big kind of impetus for it was, do we want to be the 30-year-old guys still cruising around the ski resort? And at that time, being 24, looking at a 30-year-old was like looking at your parents, to me.
Definitely.
And I was like, they just lacked the ability or the interest, probably more the interest, to take any other steps. They got real comfortable in mountain living, and they were settled into that lifestyle, and it was great for them, but it wasn't great for me, and it wasn't great for Glenn. So he takes off, doesn't make it as a pro skier. Next thing you know, I'm driving him to the Navy recruiting area in Sandy, Utah. He signs his papers. Next thing you know, he's off to basic training. boom. A year later, he's graduating from BUBS and he's a Navy SEAL.
Wow. What year is this, Shaun?
This is 95, guys. This is possibly predating you. Okay.
Not quite, but close.
93, 94.
There we go. Okay. So right when you guys are learning how to walk, we're dropping these life hammers of like, what's next in us.
Yeah. But this context is so important though, because now it's like, if you were doing what you were doing now, there's content creation, people are risk takers, entrepreneurship is such a bigger thing. Like I would imagine Massachusetts or the Northeast in general back at that time, it's like, if you're not going down this traditional path, you're just like the ultimate black sheep.
You are a
Make it.
fucking loser.
Yes.
I mean, I was that. Like, I used to joke about being the black sheep. I remember this old Minor Threat album, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm that guy.
You're the ...
Yeah, I'm literally the ... Damn it, keeps happening to me. My wife's gonna shake her head at this, be like, yep, yeah, that's on brand.
Tracks. Yeah.
But no, like to drop out of college to try and become a professional snowboarder in 1991, which was when I did it, was absolutely unheard of. But what I found was a band of other teenagers and early 20-year-olds who were all doing the exact same thing. So we all had the same idea, but there was just very few of us. That became my tribe. And then when Glen went off and joined the Navy, he found another tribe. And because he had that same adventure and we both had it, that's why we did it together. Like we both knew like we could fortify each other and like you draw energy from that experience in all the right ways. And when I was 24, turning 25, I was also like, this isn't forever. Like I saw the end. I'm like, I can have fun doing this, but there's going to be a point where my body's going to break down. I probably can't do this forever. And that was about the time I was like, if I go back to school in the summer and the fall, I can knock out my bachelor's degree. And, you know, I went back to my parents. I told them the plan. Well, I told my mom the plan. My dad had passed away. And when my mom and I, like, we talked about it, she's like, okay, well, good. I'm like, so she's like, you're on your own. Like, you had your chance. And I was like, oh, tough life lesson. I got to pay for school. And at that point, I was making money from snowboarding. So I was like, I guess I'm going to take my snowboard money and I'm going to pay for school. Apply for some grants and see what I can get away with, or student loans or whatever, and like just cobble it together. So yeah, 5 years later, turning 30, got a degree from the University of Utah in political science. I actually thought I was going to join the State Department because I wanted adventure, right? So I'm like, I'm done snowboarding. If I go work security or go work for the State Department, I can travel all around the world. I get to carry a gun. How cool is that? And I don't know where I'm going to get stationed, but let's go figure it out. And I was on that path. Now I'm 30. Snowboarding was great to me. Like, it was phenomenal. I couldn't have asked for a better experience, like chasing powder all around the world. But then I ended up getting a phone call from a buddy of mine. He's like, hey, Burton Snowboards is hiring for a team manager. You want to do it? And I'm like, no, man, I'm going to take the civil service exam. I got my plan. He's like, you sure? So you're a snowboarder. I'm like, yeah, I'll check it out. So I check out the job, and kind of as a surprise to me, I got an interview, and it was like, fly to San Diego, drive to Encinitas, sit down and do an interview with like the marketing people for Burton Snowboards. And the job was to be Shaun White's team manager because he lived right in North County, San Diego. And he was 16 years old at the time. So he was a teenager. He literally needed to be driven around to go do his homework, and then fly to the contest, win the contest, and then fly to Burton, develop product lines. And they're like, can you do this? And I'm like, yeah, I can do this. I was going to go work for the State Department, but this sounds cool. And they're like, well, here's the salary. And it was like 3 times as much money as I'd ever made in my life. So I'm like, oh my God, here's your credit card for travel budget. What? And I had to do it. So again, nonlinear. I had a plan, but this plan looked a lot more fun. I was like, you got to take the swing. I took a swing at snowboarding. It worked out. I'm going to take another swing. And that led to a decade of working in marketing in the action sports industry. And extra bonus, my best friend from growing up is a Navy SEAL 30 minutes south of me living on Coronado. So it was like getting the band back together.
I didn't even think about that you guys were both in San Diego at the same time too.
It was wild. So we were like, here we are, roommates in Utah, best friends, chasing powder days, having a blast. And then he takes off and he's deploying, he's going overseas. But when he was home when I was still in Utah, he would fly out to Utah and like chase powder days, like, in between deployments, which is like true ski bum style. Couldn't get that out of his blood. And then I ended up moving to San Diego, and then it was like, great, I've got like my best friends down here. So I had a core group of friends, which are all of his SEAL buddies that I had known since they all went through BUDS together. And then I had an infrastructure in San Diego, plus the action sports world. So that was a great blending of cultures right there.
Oh my gosh, living the life.
Yeah. It was a really good run there. And then, after a short run at Burton and working with Shaun, he went off to stratospheric fame, which is just epic. I ended up working with ESPN's X Games. I had a great time. I kind of seen the back end mechanics when the X Games was like the event. And then I worked for a little while with Tony Hawk at one of his skate park tours. So that was like flying all around the country and like going to, I'm in the Caribbean to go skateboarding. I'm like, you can't ask for a better way to hang out. And I'm doing it with all my heroes. Like as a skateboarder, I'm like, oh my God, Mike Valley's gonna be here. That guy's awesome. That was my jersey nod for you.
Just totally right over.
He's like, I have no idea who that is. Well, he used to be a really cool professional skateboarder. So
In the day.
Mike V, there you go. There's your shout out. And then, like I'm in San Diego, so I'm also like in this great place to be. And then I ended up settling in at a company called DC Shoes, which was owned by Quicksilver. They just gotten bought, and I got to work for one of the most amazing action sports lifestyle marketers named Ken Block, who went on to be a race car driver, like of all things. After he sold DC Shoes to Quicksilver, he got really into rally racing. And I learned a ton from him. And I ran that out through the recession, which was crazy. So like I had that job from like end of 2005 till 2010. And, in 2010, everyone thought the world was going to end. You guys were not quite there yet. But for the rest of us that were in the workforce in our late 30s, we were like, what is happening around here? And yeah, I mean, it was a wild, again, I didn't expect to be a director of marketing at DC Shoes in my late 30s, but there I was. And I was like, oh, this is a pretty fun way of doing things. Still traveling the world on someone else's credit card, still having those adventures. But we talked a little bit earlier about when it stops being fun and how you don't put your best foot forward in that. It was a really stressful time to be at that company because there was a massive recession and there were a lot of things going wrong in the action sports industry. And it was like, I think the dream's over. And, you're also, when you're hanging out with a bunch of 20-year-old pro athletes and you're the guy turning 40, you're like, it might be time to try something else. Yeah. And I got out of that, but I was right in that chapter when I had discovered CrossFit and fitness. And one of the things and we'll talk more about fitness, I'm sure, but one of the things I love about it is that it allows you to pursue your passions with the most energy and ability. And I'm 53. I turned 54 in 3 weeks. And if there's one thing that I freaking love is surfing, snowboarding, mountain biking, or doing whatever and not thinking anything of it, but just strapping on a board and going. And I don't want to be that guy who's in his 50s going like, okay, I think I can do this. I hope I can do this. Like, I want to take care of this body so that I can go out and have those adventures. I want to do it with my family. My wife's a big runner. I will never run the way my wife runs. She's an absolute gazelle. She's this gorgeous gazelle, and I will follow behind her. But I'm going to follow behind her. I'm going to enjoy the view. But I want to be able to run with her. I want to be able to keep up. I want to coach my kids' Little League. I want to be there for them. My daughter needs uppies all the time. She's 7. She wears 60 pounds almost. I want to lift her up and carry her around everywhere she wants to go. And fitness gives you that. Discovering CrossFit was like a fast forward way, because before that, Glen had taught me a little bit about fitness because, Navy SEAL, he's like, do some push-ups and do some more push-ups and go run 5 miles and maybe, ride a road bike. And I did all those things because I enjoyed the feeling that I got, but CrossFit was like, just turned it up to like volume 11. And it's funny because like we ended up going to a gym. I would go to this gym at 6 a.m. and then go to DC Shoes. And it was a gym in Encinitas called SEAL Fit. And it was owned by another Navy SEAL named Mark Devine, who like was really big on like the personal coaching and like kind of transformation space.
Did all like the box breathing stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He literally taught me everything I know about box breathing. Like it was a foreign concept to me. So Glen and I joined his gym in 2008. Glen moved up to Encinitas. So now we'd live like a mile away from each other.
So cool.
And we were doing CrossFit at the YMCA, which is like not the spot you want to be doing CrossFit. Like we're trying to learn kipping pull-ups on like the erg bar that has like the bend down, and we're like flopping around. And it was his idea. He's like, oh, I found this new workout. When he was like on deployment in Afghanistan or something. He's like, he found it online, and it was all open source, and he just learned how to do the workouts. He comes home, he's like, we're going to do this. So we're doing it at the Y for a couple of months, and we are getting side eye like everywhere in that gym. People are like, one of these guys doing handstand push-ups in a corner over there. And so he did a little research, and he figured out that there was a gym in town. He's like, oh my God, there's a gym in town. It's owned by a Navy SEAL. And I'm like, well, let's go check it out. So we roll into this gym, and Glen like walks up there, and he's like, Glen's a big personality. So he rolls up there, and he's like, who's a Navy SEAL around here? And Mark Divine walks up, and he's just like Glen. He's a big, super built guy. And he's like, I am. And Glen's like, I'm a Navy SEAL. You're a Navy SEAL. You need to let me work out here because I validate your business model. Like they're having this like funny conversation. And Mark's like, that's amazing. Like, come on in and work out. And he didn't charge him. And then he didn't charge me because I kind of rolled in. I'm like, I'm friends with the Navy SEAL. And that was like our life at that gym. God love Mark Divine. He never charged me a penny to be at his gym and never charged Glen. And eventually he hit us up. He's like, hey, Shaun, listen, man, like I finally realized I've never charged you for a membership. It's a really bad business model on my part. He's like, I need you to learn how to coach. And I'm like, I don't coach. No. I'm only doing fitness because I want to be in good shape so I can go snowboarding. And he's like a Navy SEAL. So when a Navy SEAL tells you to do something like that, you're kind of like, you mean it. And you've got a really funny way of asking me to do something that's really telling me to do something. So I'm going to go do it. So I went and got my coaching certifications. My day job is a marketing director at DC Shoes, and my morning job became coaching that 6 a.m. class. And I fucking loved it. Like, I never thought I would enjoy coaching as much as I have learned to love coaching. And I mean, I wasn't doing anything huge. I was like teaching people how to do pull-ups. But how transformative that is for someone who's never done a pull-up is unbelievable. So here I am, nonlinear, career opportunity. I'm like, I really like this coaching opportunity. This is really neat. Like I learned something new about myself. And Glen was a natural. Like, I think being in the teams and being around folks, he just taught people how to do stuff all the time. So he jumped right in, and that just became part of our culture. I mean, I met my wife there. She did a news story at the gym, and like literally, like my wife's a newscaster. So she's like the personality on the morning news. And I met her on the morning news, like live TV. And I'm like, that girl's amazing. I gotta get to know her. And Mark's gym helped foster that. And that whole environment was like, it was this breeding ground for learning more about who you are. I got talked into going through, they have this camp called Kokoro, and I went through it. I was like, I didn't know anything about it. And I was like, yeah, it's like a simulated hell week. And I'm like, what? Okay. Like, oh, we're going to do just a lot of adventure stuff and learn about what my buddy Glen does. I'm like, well, that's cool. Like, I wouldn't mind learning more about his world. I had no idea.
It's literally putts for civilians, right?
It is the worst thing ever and the best thing at the same time.
Hardest thing you've ever done?
100%. It is a misogi. Like it is like you go in with 40 people and maybe 10 or 11 or 12 are going to come out of it.
Wow.
People just quit. They can't handle it. And I think not knowing a lot about it was very helpful for me. I'm kind of like, admittedly, I am an outlier on that one, not because Glen was my best friend and I had some inside knowledge. I knew nothing about it, but I worked out with these guys, and these were fire breathers. Like these were like just gnarly fit guys, and we were constantly pushing each other and leveling up. Like it was the ultimate release to me of the tension that was at DC Shoes. Like at DC back then in 2010, it was a heavy place to be. Like it wasn't fun. It was insanely stressful. Everyone was looking over their shoulder to see who's going to get fired next. And I knew there was time for that change, like kind of like, at BUBS, there was a time for that change. And the change found me. There was a round of layoffs. I got laid off. I got this insane severance package, like ridiculous, like half year, go play and do whatever you want to do. And I took it. And so I was just training with these guys. And then I was coaching a little bit because I had found that passion for helping others. And they're like, hey, you want to do the camp? And I'm like, no. Like I'll work out with you guys, but I don't need to waste a whole weekend doing fitness. Like there might be good waves. I don't want to miss that. And my buddy Danny Miller like really hammered me because he was the head coach at the gym and we trained together all the time. And he's this mean little Michigan fire breather. I was like, oh, you should do it. You should do it. You should do it. Needle, needle, needle. And finally I'm like, fine, let's do it. Fine. And I was kind of joking. I didn't really mean it. And we walk on to the gym like a day later and he's like, I have an announcement to everyone. Shaun said he'd do Kokoro. And then Mark Devine's right there and he walks right up to me. He's like, thank you. We'll see you at Friday at 6 a.m. And that's where I met my wife. I show up for the Kokoro camp. She's there to cover it. And I'll never forget, she gets done, she leaves. I'm like, I got to get her phone number. That girl's an absolute smoke show. But then it's like, okay, so I'm looking around and they're like, okay, so, now you've got an hour, be back here. And I'm like, I asked one of the coaches, I'm like, where do we sleep? And he looks at me and he's like, you sleep up there. There's like this apartment building. I'm like, oh, okay. I'd never been up there. I guess they must have bunk beds and stuff. That sounds nice. I come back, I show up for it. And I remember being like, where do we sleep? They're like, someone's like, you don't sleep. Like, what? You don't sleep. And I'm like, oh, wait, what did Glen say about going through Hell Week? Oh, yeah, he didn't sleep for like 5 days straight. And I'm here to tell you, gentlemen, if you ever decide you want to do Kokoro, you don't sleep. You don't sleep for a minute.
But you met your wife through the process. So
there you go.
You had to finish.
More than meeting, more than meeting anyone during that weekend, you really learn what you're capable of. Like I am so grateful for that experience because I met my wife. What I learned about myself to then be able to really engage with my wife was equally as impactful.
So it's 3 days?
We started on Friday and we ended Sunday afternoon. So it was a little longer back then. I think they've kind of truncated it a little bit, but we're only talking like a couple of hours.
Yeah.
But no, we did that morning news, then we broke, everyone grabbed food, and then you showed back up, and then they just start kicking the living God out of you and teaching you about yourself from Friday straight through Sunday afternoon. And it's an amazing experience because you learn nuggets along the way. They're dropping breadcrumbs, but you don't really follow along with it. But then all of a sudden, somewhere in there, things click. And like you start with 50 people. I think there was like 50 in my group. So it was a lot. It was 50 individuals, all running around, scattered, like trying to do all the work, which is impossible. And somewhere around, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, that first night, this was now Saturday morning, we realized we needed each other. And I did this camp because my buddy Danny Miller talked me into it. And Danny Miller looks at me, he's like, I can't do this anymore, I'm out. I'm like, the fuck you are. You dragged me into this. Like, you are not quitting. And like, I pulled him back from the edge. And it was a very distinct memory for me because he hit his low point. And I was like, no, you are not quitting. And then like, you're going on to the most obscene workouts that are so hard. But all of a sudden he drew a little strength from that. And I didn't realize I was giving something. I just was like, fuck you, you're not quitting. But then I had my low moment, maybe 8-10 hours later, and he was right there for me. But at that point, there's a couple other guys who were also there. And then another guy does it, and another guy does it, and everyone hits their low point, and everyone else rallies around. And all of a sudden we realize that there's a strength in that. There's a strength in the community. There's a strength in what you two have that you're going to be tested as you go through this adventure of entrepreneurship. I had that as this crucible experience to learn about myself and to see what I'm capable of. And I learned that I was capable of more than maybe I thought I could. Because if I got challenged in some of the ways, I don't know that I would have made it. If I hadn't had that experience to hit highs and lows, to accomplish these workout moments or these hikes or these mental tests, because they really are mental tests. And the most important concept there was don't quit. But then the next concept attached to don't quit is how can you not quit? Oh, you don't quit because you've got someone else that's accountable. You got someone else pulling for you. You've got a team. And if you guys work together, there's nothing that these coaches can do that's going to break that. But the ones that quit were all the ones that got peeled off. and they let themselves get peeled off. And I remember like pleading with this one guy not to quit, but he was gone. Like the eyes were glazed over. He'd already quit. I'm like, don't do it, man. Don't do it. Like I didn't even think you're going to regret this later. I'm sure that this was like one of his life regrets. And it's like, oh no, like, you're gone. Bummer. Okay, who's back? Who's in? Because now I need to get this energy from someone else. He's gone. Like I took it as I tried to get him back as much as I could. And then you come out of the experience towards that last day and you are fucking unbreakable. And it's wild because like if you had told me that I was going to have that thought and feeling after not sleeping for 2 full days, I would have thought you're crazy. And it ended up becoming something, I was 39, turned 40 years old. That was one of the most transformative things in my life. And at that point, then obviously I started dating Heather and, then we got married and had kids, and that was ultimately transformative. But I had that strength from that experience to help me with all the challenges, highs and lows afterwards. And I recommend it to anyone, but it's an amazing experience to learn what you're capable of.
Isn't it amazing how life comes down to just a few yes moments that were just like, if I hadn't had said yes to that one weekend, like my life would be totally different. Like Brett and I, the whole start of our podcast was because we ran an Ironman together. And after that, we were like, we need to figure out a way to work together. That wasn't even on our radar.
Did you train for the Ironman together?
Pieces.
Yes.
We were in different cities.
He was in Boston. I was in New York and then New Jersey in the middle of COVID. But we would meet up every couple weekends and just do bike rides and train and things like that. And then the race was supposed to be Mont Tremblant. It got canceled because Canada was so strict. Harry was looking at some opportunities in Austin. So we ended up rolling the credit into Waco. And then that's how we ended up living together in Austin. And that's how the whole business started.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now, in those training moments, someone's gonna have a good day, someone's gonna have a bad day, and you both gotta level up. At the end of the day, you gotta run your own race. But the training and the accountability and like the showing up, like you gotta show up for your boys. You gotta show up for your teammates. You have to show up for your wife. You have to show up for your kids. You gotta show up. I don't have a choice. If you don't show up, fuck, that's a hell of a demon to have to wrestle with that you're going to be really, really bothered by for a long time. The guys that quit, I feel for them. I'm sorry they quit. And
one of the expressions you've said a few times is taking a swing. And it just from hearing you tell your story, it seems like you have a really good intuition around when to take a swing, like when to just be like, all right, screw it, I'm going to do this weekend, or I'm going to like go work for DC, or I'm going to go and start BUBS. Like, is that something that's just been built into you as somebody who's an adventure guy, or have you always kind of had that intuition around when to take a big swing?
I can answer that now from hindsight, but at the time, no, I wouldn't have known it better. It was just like adventure next, like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
What's the next thing? And that was that ... But there was also, it was fun opportunity. And am I going to learn something? Am I going to grow from this? Looking back on it, I've always done that. At the time, some of those were like massively scary decisions because I didn't know. And like, there's always a safer route, but I didn't know how to take it. And after I got a taste for it, I don't know that I wanted to. And I think right when I would have, in fact, I know when I was hitting some of those points of like, okay, this independent contractor thing's not working out so well. Fuck, this job at DC Shoes is opening up. I should apply for that. And I'm like, I don't know. It's not the same as having all this freedom over here. Like I just got done working with Tony Hawk. It was fun, but now I don't know what's exactly next. But fuck it, take a swing. And it ends up being like going to grad school, like an amazing educational opportunity. And you meet such amazing people, like when you're in a setting like that, like, when you're hanging out with Dave Mira, rest in peace, and Travis Pastrana and Travis Rice in the snowboard world and Devin Walsh and like these amazing people, like, wow, how lucky. What if I didn't take that swing? I say that in hindsight. I look back at that. Starting BUBS, same thing. Like this company was a social experiment when it started. In 2017, my wife bought me a jar of collagen. We had just had our baby. Our son Sebastian was a year old and I was 44. I've been CrossFitting at that point for, like 7 years. My knees sounded like crinkled up newspaper walking up and down a flight of stairs. And my wife's in the news, so she was early on to the collagen craze in 2017. There weren't a lot of collagen brands. And she's like, "Oh, you have to try this stuff. I checked it out. It's supposed to help with your joints, and I'm really curious about it." And I'm like, "Huh. Okay." She's like, "Look, you're not getting any younger, and I need to preserve you in your old age." My wife's a little bit younger than I am, so I was like, "Okay, fair. That's fair." And I started taking it. And I didn't know anything about supplements. Literally, the only thing I knew about supplements was what Glenn had taught me. And it was like, "We're going to go Jack Steel. Here's creatine and a pre-workout. Here's some whey protein." And he bought the cheap stuff that always made your stomach gurgle. It was like just horrible. And because he was a bargain hunter. And I knew that they were like different jars. We had these different mason jars on the counter. And it's like, "We're going to go on a bike ride. Take that. It's got electrolytes and carbs in it." And I was like, "Okay." Scoop it, put it in your water bottle, go. And that was Metamucil because you always need your fiber. And these were literally the mason jars on our counter. And I would laugh about that stuff. But then when it wasn't around, I wasn't taking any of that stuff. I didn't know anything about it. So we'll talk about Glenn and him not being with us anymore. But in 2017, I hadn't been taking anything. I was just getting older and still trying to run around, do CrossFit, run around, surf, do all my things. But it was starting to hurt. The wear and tear gets real. Gentlemen, it gets real. And I just figured that's aging. That sucks. But I'm not going to stop moving. Like, I'm not geared that way. I got to take more swings. Let's go. She buys me a jar of collagen. I start taking it, and I just follow the directions. She's like, "Put a scoop in your coffee every morning and do it every day." I'm like, "Okay." So I'm a month in. I'm burning through that jar, and my fingernails are growing like I'm the Wolverine. I'm like, "What is going on around here?" And I needed a haircut. Like a week later, I'd just gotten a haircut. I'm like, "That's really weird. Something's happening." And I'm like reading the jar, and I'm like, "Hair, skin, nails." Like, well, that's okay. And then it's like joint health. And right at the 2-month mark, my joints stopped hurting. Literally my knees that were like aching, getting out of bed, felt great. And I'm like, holy crap, what is in this stuff? So I just became an evangelist of it. I think much in the same way that carnivore served you, and like the way you have this transformative experience, you want to share it with people. I had that with collagen. It absolutely changed the quality of my life. And that's a shareable moment. And I didn't have any secrets. It's not like I was like training for some race and it was like my secret sauce. I would tell every one of my friends, like, "You got to try this stuff. You don't understand." And after 2 months, it got better. After 3 months, it got better. After 4 months, I was just hooked. I was like, I will take collagen the rest of my life. Well, a business partner came over. He wasn't a business partner. We were hashing out a work project together. And he's like, "You take collagen?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I take it every day." Like, I feel amazing. Like, I am back squatting again. I'm back to my old self. Like, this stuff has changed my life. He's like, "Oh, it's a fast trending product on Amazon. We should start a company." Just like that. And I've got a 1-year-old like crawling around on the floor behind him. And I'm like, "You're crazy." But shit, man, I'm always up for an idea.
Crazy.
Let's like, what does that look like? And just kind of napkin mathed it out right there on the spot. And the whole idea was, this is an incredible product. Like, I can stand behind it. Like, collagen has changed my life. Okay, it's a good foundation. And we're looking at it. I'm like, well, what would starting a company look like? Like, it's a very honest question. If you're going to ask someone who's going to be your co-founder, like, what does it look like? And we both said at the exact same time, well, whatever we do, we got to do something cool for charity. And a little light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, well, I know the charity. It's got to be Glen's charity. Glen, unfortunately, was killed, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, in a minute. And his family and I and some high school friends started a charity helping special operators transition from active duty to civilian life. And Glen's call sign in the Navy was BUB. And BUB stood for 2 things: self-improvement and helping others. I was like, okay, we'll start this brand as a tribute to BUB and his way of life, this tribute to Glen and the great things that he stood for. We'll give 10% of all profits to charity because he was always helping others right to the very end of his life. And we will put the absolute best in quality product into this jar because I'm not putting any low grade dog food in there if my best friend's name is going to be on the jar. And I didn't know if it was going to work. It was a total social experiment. And we had this idea. And I'm like, we're going to call the company BUBS. And I called 2 of Glen's SEAL teammates that I'm friends with. And I'm like, guys, what do you think about this? So I called Glen's mom. And I called his sister and brother. I'm like, his family members. I'm like, what do you guys think? And they all said the same thing. Glen would kick your ass if you don't do this. Like, you have to do this. I'm like, I guess we're taking the swing. And that was it. I had to learn about sourcing. I had to learn about the product. I had to take a total career shift into product. But I knew I believed in it. And I had that energy from it. I had that stoke. Going back to that, like the stoke was there. I was like, does anyone care about a company that gives 10% of its profits to charity? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. And my business partner was a big digital marketing guy. So he had the background to set up the website, to drop the pixels, to have the Facebook ads and do Instagram over here. And I had the kind of brand juice, but then I had to learn production. I had to figure out cost of goods and, kind of the mechanics behind actually getting the powder from the cow into the jar.
And there's such a huge discrepancy between good collagen and bad collagen.
There's a massive discrepancy. So that was the adventure. The adventure was, I got to find out the way. I want the best flavor. I want the best solubility, and I want the best amino acid profile. Best. And if we can't do it, it ain't happening, but we know it's out there. And that was it, man. Go figure that out. And that was the next half year of my life, was literally doing taste tests of like brands off of Amazon and any vendors we could find, and like pour them in a glass of water, which is like the most crucial test, seeing them all clump up because collagen is a glue. It's a binding protein. And then the best ones wouldn't. And then you figure out who the manufacturer is and you go to them and talk to them. And that was like such a cool adventure because you're learning something new. It's like grad school. Like, you don't know what the hell you're doing, but you have to learn all these skills. And you come away from it ideally with a better understanding of what that looks like. And it takes years. But hope you end up in a good spot with a good brand. Here we are.
Has the political science degree come into play ever, or is that is that off place? Did it right?
I did get the degree. Yes, I have a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of Utah, class of 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it has come in real handy. And there's something about politics which I find interesting, which is reading the room and understanding people and policy and why things happen. I really enjoy understanding an argument from both sides. And boy, if politics in America isn't understanding both sides, I don't know what is.
We're not understanding both
or
sides.
not understanding both sides. Yeah. Well, that's maybe
Politics.
maybe that's the problem right there, is the not understanding part. I like the understanding part. Like,
Yeah.
I like understanding the mechanics behind an election, and like with the election we just had, like why the Democrats get their asses handed to them. Like, what have they done so wrong for the last 12 plus years that got them served up? And are there any lessons they can learn from that? What did the Republican Party do really right? How does that apply to business, right? Like, shift away from the politics stuff, because I think it's pretty obvious what the Republicans did incredibly well over the last decade plus. And if that isn't just a map of where our country is, I don't know what is. But in business, I'll go into some different relationships, and I understand now more than I did early on where you can make things happen and where you're going to feel like you're forcing it. And if you have to force it, there is a point where you can force, but there's also a point where you have to pull back, and it's not worth the fight, and you have to put your energy elsewhere. Like, why did Biden decide to pass some policies and jam them through? Same with Obama, when it just pissed off too much of the country. So in making business decisions, like some of the partnerships we choose or some of the manufacturers we choose to work with, like, get to know them better. Get to know who you want to work with. Who do you want to give your money to manufacture your products? What agencies do you want to work with on the marketing side that are going to best represent your ethos? We're vetting new creative agencies right now. And I had to fire 2 to get to the 3 that we're talking to now. And I used to have a really hard time firing people because I just wanted the relationships to work. I wanted the teamwork, the camaraderie. Now it's like, nope, I have no problem letting you go if you're not going to do things and perform to the absolute, highest level. That's how you have to do it. Politics has definitely helped me read the room a little bit better now and understand like who's kind of vetting you and they're kind of coin operated and which ones want a true partnership. And that helps guide me because I want the true partnership. I don't want the coin operated. There's plenty of that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love what you were saying about that. Kind of is the nature of the beast of CPG too, right? How reliant you actually are on these manufacturing partners and these agency partners, and the buck ultimately stops with you. So if someone runs the wrong campaign on Meta, or somehow it's a crappy piece of creative that gets pushed through, or manufacturer screws up something in the supply chain, so you guys are stocked out, you're the one that's taking shit from the customer ultimately.
Oh yeah.
And it's on you. But people don't know that the behind the scenes mechanics of like these partnerships are the lifeblood of your business.
Yeah, hands down. So like, it's funny because we have 2 SKUs here of this product. This MCT oil, this coconut oil. I have one that purposely has grass-fed butter in it. It is creamy and delicious and is just amazing. We're out of stock right now. I couldn't give you any. And I don't like being out of stock because I have hundreds and hundreds of subscribers to that product that write us emails like, when are you coming back in stock? We should never have run out of stock, but there was a snafu in the manufacturing and it doesn't matter because we're out of stock. It's like the why doesn't matter on that one. Like I can explain it in an email to every customer and I've had to do that. Write those long emails. At the end of it, just take ownership. Hey guys, it's our fault. We're out of stock. We're going to make it right. We're going to refund you or we're going to pivot you to a different product on us. Like whatever that make good is, because I want them to stick around for 100+ purchases. That sucks though, to go through an experience like that. You will, like you're stocked out of one of your flavors right now on your website.
We had bad stock out this summer.
Yeah. That sucks.
Terrible.
And those are customers that they're going to go to that other guy and they're going to buy his stuff. And maybe you'll win them back, but maybe you don't. And it's like, you don't want that to happen. No, keep them the whole time. But those are the lessons you learn. And then you go, okay, how can I create a new SOP to make sure that never happens again? It happened. I don't want it to ever happen again. Some things you can't control. You can't control some elements of your supply chain, but control what you can and read the room. Like, again, the politics of it, like who do you want to work with? Who is going to be a good partner? Who's going to have your back and treat your business like it's their business? And I think the right agencies do that. There are great co-manufacturing partners out there that will do that. And the right ones will carry the right certifications. So you just got to find them.
Good 3PL too, right?
Whoo, I just fired one. Yep, just fired one. I mean, you have standards you have to hit. And we're in the age of Amazon right now. And every customer has 2-day Prime at their fingertips. Now it's freaking 1-day Prime or half-day Prime.
Literally half-day Prime.
Like my products can arrive to me within 4 hours of ordering it if you're anywhere from LA South. Like I don't know what it's like in other geographic areas, but it's literally same day delivery. And on one hand, I'm really proud of that because we're a part of that. But then I think, what if we could do that? It would bankrupt us. Yeah. Long and short of it, it's a completely unachievable goal for our business. But I've got plenty of customers that want to subscribe or want to buy my product. And if I can get it to them in a reasonable time frame, 3 to 5 days, no big deal. Well, what if your 3PL doesn't share that same values? They don't treat your business like that. They just treat you like you're one of another box that has to get filled, and it'll get filled, but you might lose a day. Well, that's a valuable day. And if a customer is in tune with 1 to 2 days shipping from Prime and you can't deliver in 3 to 5 days, you're going to catch some heat. And then now you're not going to win that customer for 100 purchases. You're not going to win them for 2 purchases. They're gone. They might buy on Amazon or they might just find someone else. I don't want to lose them. I know you guys don't want to lose those customers either. Like it's important to be able to protect your business, and a 3PL's got to treat you well. And then cost. Dude, shipping is expensive.
Yes.
If COVID taught us anything, it's that the old rules of shipping products are gone. The expectations from the consumer side are that you're going to get it right away. Oh, and shipping should be free or cost almost nothing. Well, the fact is, like, it was costing me $13 to $14 per shipment, and I was charging my customers $9, and I felt bad charging them $9, but like I had to charge them something. But then we have all these free shipping triggers. So my actual cost to ship was even higher. And I'm like, I'm losing money, like losing gobs of money shipping this product. And then I'm like, well, this is a challenge. This is an opportunity and a challenge. All right, go find a better shipping partner who will ship same day, cut down that time period, and has lower fees, lower storage, lower tech fees, is a modern 3PL that understands the direct-to-consumer space and has a better cost structure, better shipping rates with FedEx or UPS or whomever. And like I hammered that space for half a year to figure out who that partner is going to be. And then once you find them, stay on top of them. The old Ronald Reagan adage, trust but verify. Like I totally believe in that. Like, do I trust that I've got good agencies? Yeah, but I'm going to verify it. I'm going to make sure the math lines up. I'm going to use all the right, software programs and vetting to make sure that same thing. Like you want a good 3PL. I can't stress that enough. If you're in that side of the business world, do it.
Yeah, just having it's amazing just the things that these industries in general just accept and status quo, and you're almost like, as an owner, you feel like you're almost forced to just pick the best out of the status quo people. And then you meet someone or maybe a couple partners where it's like, no, instead of being a reactive 3PL, we're going to be a proactive 3PL, and just like what that could do to your business. Our friends Morgan and Derek, they have this company called Grit Distribution.
Okay.
That's based in Texas. They're from Canada, and now their facility is based in Texas. And we've wanted to work with them for the last couple months because we spoke to a couple of their customers, and just meeting them, just the sense of like true responsibility and duty they feel to their partners. We were like, we need some of this.
Yep.
And they came to us and said, hey, there's an issue with one of our brands in Canada, something changed there. And they're like, we have to just pour ourselves into them right now. But when the timing makes sense, we would love to work with you guys too. So like even just someone that cares about their clients so much that they're saying no to new business and they want to work with us, like that's someone that we'd love to do. Like what could that could do for Noble, or what could that do for a BUBS?
Yep. You keep tabs on that.
Yeah.
One of the, I'm not going to nerd out on the logistics side, but like one of the things I highly recommend is, because shipping is so expensive, try and keep your 3PL right next to your co-packer, like within a very short truck drive.
Yeah.
Because when you guys are starting to do like just truckloads and truckloads and truckloads on each production run, you're going to want them close by.
Yeah.
That's
just food for thought on that one. Because when you, like, I used to produce in Utah and then I would truck to Michigan for my 3PL. And it was like, I was spending, like, at the time, it wasn't much money. It was a couple $1,000 per truck.
We got you beat, by the way.
Yeah. Or of course.
Utah to New Jersey right now.
So I'm Utah to Utah.
Yeah.
My truck cost, despite how much they've gone up, if I send a truck from Utah to the East Coast, it's $5,000. Like, it's a $5,000 truck. There's no way around it. I spend $300 per truck to go from my co-packer to my warehouse. And then I have to balance that out and say, well, what does that look like compared to my cost to ship to the East Coast? Pencils out. I got the math people to help me out with that. Trust me, I was not solving that math problem. But you guys are literally going to Jersey for your shipping?
Yes, but we're in the process of switching right now.
Is your mom pissed that you ship all this product to her and expect her to pack all those boxes in Jersey? That's not even cool.
She's not happy about it. It's all in the garage.
But it's funny though, with the 3PL conversation, just in terms of like vetting Morgan and Derek, I did a workout with them, not even vetting, but like they were coming to Austin, first time meeting them, and we just hit a workout together. And after that workout, the way that I saw Morgan and how she worked out, and Derek, I was like, we should just figure out. I don't even know what they do. Let's just do something with them.
If you're you're a puddle on the floor and they're like, what's next? You're like, I want to work with you guys.
I was doing the Chad workout, which is basically a weighted vest. You do a bunch of step ups, and she was legitimately the first person I did the workout with, because I was doing it for a bunch of days straight. She's the first person I saw do the workout nonstop. I don't even think she blinked the whole workout. She was just up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down.
Now, was she from the culture of CrossFit or functional fitness? Okay, so she didn't go into it like, give me some weights and I'll jump up here.
No, she was a beast.
They're like you. They're OGs.
Yeah.
You guys
That's-
would probably love each
Yeah,
other.
you
too,
guys would
but
definitely-
for you, yeah.
So that guy, Danny Miller, that I was referencing, the first time we did Chad was during COVID when Dave Castro launched it. So, I mean, I know Dave Castro from CrossFit. We did some work projects together. And he's just a really cool guy. And, you know, that was one of his friends. So this was a personal workout for Dave. And I was like, hey, man, like gyms aren't really open right now, but we got a couple boxes and we got a couple weight vests. And I had literally had an old weight vest that was, I couldn't get the weights out of. Like it's one of the old block ones. And it would weight up to like 60 pounds. And I had it like, I could pull a couple of them out to get it to 50 pounds, which I think it was like 50 pounds was what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, right around.
So I have a 50-pound weight vest. And it lives in the back of my pickup truck. I pull it out when I hate myself. And I pulled it out that day and it was like 2021, I think, like whenever the first year they launched that workout.
Yeah.
And we just did it. I'm like, let's go. Because you need those adventures and those challenges. Like, but what a hell of a workout to put them through. So for anyone listening who doesn't know the Chad 1000X, it's literally 1,000 step-ups. And for guys, it's 50 pounds of like in a weight vest or a backpack or whatever you have to hold that weight.
Yeah, and they were like, they absolutely crushed it. So I remember going back home to Brett being like, yeah, they're incredible. We need to like figure out how to do more stuff with them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great vetting process too.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Well, kind of like doing an Ironman together
Yes.
and realizing you want to be in business together. Like you see what each other are made of in those moments, and that's phenomenal.
100%. Yeah, we've since we did 100K together the next year after the Ironman, and I feel like that
trim is so
way worse. Yeah, because we ran that whole race together. The Ironman, you're in the swim. We lost each other from the get go, but the run, we were every step of the way together.
Yeah.
So you know, we're running through the middle of the night, in middle of nowhere, Texas. You know, basically pitch black, and we're both cussing at each other, just like,
What are we doing here?
why do we do this?
That's pretty neat though. That's my wife and I did our what I call our marital training. We trained for the Boston Marathon together. So after Glen died, we got a charity bib to race the Boston Marathon, and that was our hometown. So we the year we got engaged, we trained for Boston together, and it was I learned a lot because I'd never run anything like the longest distance I'd run was a half marathon, and I thought that was plenty. But my wife's a gazelle. And so she was like, it was like her 8th marathon. She was like, yeah, let's just run a marathon. And then we got a charity bib to Boston. And yeah, I mean, it's Boston, so you have to do it. Yeah, that kicked my ass up and down, left and right. It was a great experience.
Do you feel like after Kokoro, you're just like, I can, that feeling you were talking about on Sunday where you kind of just felt bulletproof and you're at that point where you're like, pretty much whatever physical event I got put through, I think I should be able to do it. Did that translate to something like that or some of these other things that you do now?
Yeah, it really did. In fact, and you get an itch to do more of it. It doesn't just go away. I mean, and my wife knows it's like I have to move. I have to keep moving. And we have kids now, so like you can't always train for an Ironman and have that right allocation for family. And I want that balance. Like I'm very conscious of striking that balance because for a lot of years, like I still treated my life like I was a pro snowboarder. Except now I've got money, so no one's paying for me to go snowboarding. I'll just go and snowboard. And you miss moments along the ways, and you can't do that as much. So the need to do those things is deep inside me. The preparedness to do those things is the part that I don't ever want to lose. Like that's the part that's super important. Like you might not be able to jump up and do 100 miles tomorrow, but I guarantee you guys are keeping yourselves at a baseline so that if a reasonable challenge comes up, you're not starting from zero. You're starting from at least halfway there.
Definitely.
And those are really freaking cool challenges. Like I've got one I've got my eye on for later this year, and it's called 29029,
Oh yeah.
summiting Everest.
I'll
And
do one of those. Which one are you eyeing?
actually, funny enough, Canada.
Okay.
So maybe you guys need a little rebate, do it a little differently. But it's at the end of September, and it's like, what a cool challenge to simulate summiting Mount Everest. And it's in the mountains. Like I love mountains. And the idea of it, if it's not this year, it'll be next year, but what I can do that training.
Yeah.
And I want to do that training. And yeah, it's going to be really freaking hard, but you're going to be around a community of people that are all doing it, and they're going to energize each other. And like, that's the community. That's that juice. It's worth the squeeze. It's worth the suffer to see what you're made of. And, you know, I'm buddies with this guy, Michael Easter, who's written a couple phenomenal books. And he talks about these misogis, these challenges that people need to put themselves through to like really see what life's all about. And I remember reading his books and I'm like, yeah, he wrote this book called The Comfort Crisis. And I was like, yes, yes. I don't know if I need to do it the way you're doing it, but yes. And we, you know, we hung out a couple of times and I'm like, yep, you got it, man. Doing like a 1 hour workout, like the Chad 1000X, or it can take a little more than an hour, or like psychos can do it in less than an hour. You're hurting. And like when you're 500 steps in and you're only halfway there, and like 500 step ups is a lot of step ups. And you realize you got that much more to go. When you're doing 100-mile run and you're only at mile 30 and you're like, I've already run more than a marathon and I'm just getting started. Like, there are some games there.
You have to do some crazy tricks in your mind to get you through that sort of stuff.
And have someone there to help you get through it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the neatest things I did besides Kokoro that I highly recommend is I did a Go Ruck challenge. And, you know, why do a regular one? I did the Star Course, which is a 50-mile plus, and you have like 20 hours to do it. So again, you're going overnight. You have to have 20 plus pounds in a backpack and go and map out all these different spots you're going to go and do it. And I was totally underprepared for it on some levels. Like I did a couple of rucks. So I was like, yeah, it's walking with weight. I can do that. But then I was surprised. I found myself at 3-4 o'clock in the morning. What the fuck am I doing here? This really sucks. And then I've got my teammates around me. And the difference is, since I had the Kokoro experience, I was able to tap into that. I saw the suck. The suck was talking to me. It was really loud in my ear. And then I had other people that were like, they were in their good moment. So they were cheering me on. And then same thing, like it flips back and forth. And all of a sudden that teamwork, that camaraderie helps pull you up. And the next thing you know, you're doing it all for this little patch, and you earn the patch. And then you're just like, yes, this was totally worth it. I'm going to sleep for 12 hours. This was totally worth it.
Because that feeling is just something that's so pure that it doesn't matter how many tubs of collagen you sell or whatever these accolades, it just, that purity, that's what we felt.
Yeah.
You know, the purity of baseball, or the purity of you chasing that run when you were, you know, snowboarding professionally. It's very tough to find that in the real world.
Yep.
And the fear is losing the feeling that you had on that one Sunday after Kokoro. And Harry said to me multiple times, he's like, dude, I think we need that misogi, because that's when all the juices were really flowing. And what's funny, a couple of weeks ago, my buddy did the Rocky Raccoon 100-miler.
Okay.
So he had trained a couple of years for it. So it was a huge deal for him, but he ran out of pacers. And so I didn't think I was going to pace at all. I was literally going to the gas station to get a Red Bull, and they called me and they were like, hey dude, you're up for lap 4. And I was in like baggy sweatpants, and I luckily had a pair of Hokas on. And it's like this gnarly course in the middle of Houston. It was 9 o'clock at night. He was hurting. He's like, he's 250. He's a big boy.
Oh, big dude.
Yeah. He didn't fuel enough either. So by lap 4, because it's 20-mile loops. So lap 4 is the hardest, right? Because you're so close, but so far at the same time.
No, that's your mental
Yes.
suck. Like you still have to do another one after that. Like
100%.
you're crushed.
Yes. But that one lap that I wasn't expecting to do with him, we started at 9. We finished at 6:30 in the morning. In the middle of the night, headlamps died. I had 0 fuel on me because I wasn't expecting to do it in these baggy sweatpants. But in the middle of it, I was like, this feeling that you feel right now, this is what you've been looking for, and you haven't had that in a long time.
Yeah.
So it's what you're talking about, and what Harry's been talking to me about too.
I can't recommend them enough. And like, I'm eyeing this 29.029. And it's funny, I have another friend of mine, this guy, Derek Price, who does this just amazing business life coaching now. Played in the NFL. He was, played for the Lions, and I put him through Kokoro. Glen and I put him through Kokoro. This former NFL stud, like just giant monster of a human. He's done Ironmans. He's chased all the same adventures, and now he's in a position to share and share in what he's done. And so he hits me up and he's like, "Hey, so I've got a group, and I really want to give them a misogi, and I really want to do a misogi, however you pronounce it." And we just start riffing, And it was like 2 teenagers like, oh, and then we could do this, and then it could do this. And I'm not even involved in it. And I'm like, we're throwing ideas back and forth. And it was awesome. And it lit that fire right up again.
Mm.
I'm like, I don't ever want to lose that fire. So unfortunately for you, and unfortunately for you, you guys are already there. You're going to keep doing it.
Oh yeah. We're in it.
And just, just create a good understanding. My only advice in relationships is explain that very well to your other halves so
Yes.
that your wives understand or your girlfriends understand that it's not a disrespectful thing to them. It's actually going to fuel your relationship and you're going to be better in the relationship because of it. But we got to find out what we're made of. Going back to that whole adventure thing and like something we touched on a little bit earlier, and this is all again through the lens of hindsight. You guys ever take those like Myers-Briggs tests? Have you ever done anything to find out like the kind of person you are? There's a variation on Myers-Briggs, and it's not called Myers-Briggs, and I should know the name of it, but there's basically 8 different personality types, and you're mapped to one of them predominantly. And they have these really like, classic names, and like most entrepreneurial leaders are like, it's called like the general or something like that. And next to the general, the other leadership type is the adventurer. And I'm in a couple of groups in San Diego and around the country of like different business owners, and we all can kind of share stories, and they're incredible groups to be a part of, to realize you're not alone in whatever you're encountering in business. But I took this test, and you have to be, just be honest with yourself, or like you're never going to get an honest result. And I go through and I kind of answer all the questions, and I go through, and it's, it's like an hour-long test. It definitely took a little bit of bandwidth, and I came out as the adventurer, mapped to that general. And I'm like, oh man, this hits. Like all these other people in this group are all the generals. They're all like, on that leadership side, but I'm that guy who takes wild swings. Bingo, I got it. Like in traction, I'm that visionary. Like I am definitely not the implementer. And I can implement, and you have to implement when you're early on in business. But I found I'm that visionary. So by reading the book Rocket Fuel, which is part of the Traction series, I knew, especially after like my partner left, I was like, oh, I never had an implementer. No wonder we were bound for failure. Like he's kind of a visionary on his own too, which is great, but like not great when you're trying to do it together. And my VP of marketing in the interview process, I just casually had that discussion about the book Rocket Fuel. He's like, oh, I just got done rereading it. He's like, man, I never want to be a visionary. I just want to be behind the scenes. I want to get things done. And I'm like, my man. And like, it was just yeses across the board from there on. And now, we're only a half year into working with each other, but I'm less like, yep, you are going to call me out on all my wild shit. And you're going to say yes to the right wild things, but you're also going to like pull me back when I need it. But you're there for the adventure. It's phenomenal. So,
man, the fact that that's something Harry and I have learned, that there's people out there, the way that you love taking wild swings, there's someone that loves operations just as much, and you just perfectly complement each other.
Yep. And you guys will learn that. Like, you're going to like realize if you guys are both on that visionary side, might be that you need a Chad in your world. Just throwing that out there, guys. But you realize that, and the earlier you can realize it, the better set for success you're going to be. And I mean, it's an exciting time to be in protein. Like one of my friends is Gabrielle Lyon, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, and she's exploded.
Queen.
She is literally the protein queen. So her husband, Shane, we worked out together at SealFit. Literally like back in 2010, like Shane and I were just like beating the crap out of each other. And then I met her the year we launched our company, and this was 7 years ago, and she was early on, like hadn't written her book yet, hadn't done those things, but she was dating Shane, so we had this little personal connection, and I just found what she was doing to be fascinating. And then you give that pulpit up and you realize like she is out preaching the good word of diet, nutrition, of course exercise and strength training, but like she pulls no punches. This is a medical doctor. She is talking about what you need. You guys, for what we're doing, like we're providing a product line that's going to help people that just can't necessarily do it on their own. They're not out eating organ meats. They're not getting They're not eating tip to tail in the right way, the way nature, say, intended from 150 years ago, like, because it's really hard to eat that way. Well, guess what? We have processes now for collagen peptides. We have processes for organ meat and whole meat proteins and an amazing amino acid spectrum to help get the job done for the necessity of protein intake. And then you've got like Dr. Rhonda Patrick talking about these things. You've got these huge personalities that are, I don't say normalizing like good dietary habits, but yeah, for lack of a better word, like they're making sure people recognize that the world of really bad decision making is, clock's ticking on that. The ultra processed foods are on blast. There's a whole new administration with RFK in there that's going to help change that. Now, it won't change overnight, but I love knowing that you guys are in the game to help change that you guys have a platform to help folks recognize that, oh, I should probably pay a little bit more attention to what I'm eating. Oh, there is this, maybe that vegan diet wasn't such a good idea. Maybe there's other ways of doing it. It's incredibly powerful. It's a cool time to be around that, and you guys are doing it right.
We appreciate you saying that. Yeah. 3 years ago when we started the Meat Mafia podcast, quit our jobs, it didn't really seem like that smart of a decision.
Nope. Try doing it with a 1-year-old, gentlemen.
Man.
Hey, Mom, we're going to quit our corporate gigs and we're going to start a podcast called The Meat Mafia.
Yep.
Yeah.
And trust me, it's going to be great. It's going to be huge. Yep. That reminds me of that conversation with my mom. So I'm dropping out of college to become a pro snowboarder. Good luck.
Yeah.
But then again, like you guys had that passion and vision to dig in and to do it.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about Glen a little bit because I'd be remiss not to talk about like, why is this thing called BUBS?
Yes.
Sorry, I kind of had to grab the mic on that one, but
No,
No.
I wanted to circle back to it anyways. I was gonna ask you if you felt his hands kind of in the business as you've been scaling it, just that presence of who he was and just how he shows up in the products that you've made.
Yes, 100%. And actually, I love the way you framed that question because I wouldn't say I'm an overly spiritual person. I would say I have different moments when I'm more in tune with it. But I don't live my life like thinking that way. I think I charge too much to just stop and smell the roses and like be in tune with all of that. But I can 100% say that the day we thought of the company, he was there for it. So let me back up a little bit. Glen, obviously, as I stated, he was my best friend growing up. We dropped out of college together and all these great life adventures. In our 30s, we ended up becoming roommates again. So the last 2.5 through almost 3 years of his life, we were roommates. So he was deploying overseas. At that point, he was out of the Navy and he was contracting for the CIA. We literally like made our wills out to each other, like did all of this stuff for like, hey, if I die, you inherit all my debt. If you die, you inherit all my debt. Like it was as thick as two guys can be. Like we're brothers. And, like when I met my wife, like Glen was right there for our entire courtship. When he wasn't deployed overseas, Glen's last deployment, and it was really meant to be his last deployment. He knew he couldn't work security and do the GRS job for the CIA much longer. Like, he was 44 at the time. And he was like, dude, or 43. He was like, it's getting old. Like, these are long days. These are hard hours. It's tough work. He's like, I think I'm going to go back to school. He was ready to make a shift. And his last deployment was to Tripoli in Libya in 2012. And that was in early September of 2012. Well, you guys remember 9/11, of course, because 9/11 in New York was, this horrible, tragic incident, and in DC and, in Pennsylvania. But there was a second 9/11, and that was the one that happened in Benghazi, Libya. And it was 11 years after. So it was on 9/11, 2012, there was an Al-Qaeda terrorist attack in Benghazi, which is about a 2-hour flight from Tripoli. So I'm going to bed on 9/11, and I'm like checking the news, and I got a text message from a friend like, hey, like some weird shit's going down overseas. And I look, and I'm like, oh, Glen's in Tripoli. He's nowhere near that. Like Benghazi, I don't even know where that is. I had to like look it up on the map. And I'm like, okay, Glen's got to be cool. But I write him a little email that night. I'm like, hey, man, be safe out there. And at that point, it's the middle of the night because I'm in California and he's in Benghazi. Well, he was already in the fight. So Glen responded to those terror attacks at the State Department annex that ultimately led to the CIA annex in Benghazi responding to that terrorist attack. And Glen got on an airplane with a couple of the special operators and some personnel, flew to Benghazi, waited for an escort to take him to that CIA annex, and literally like fought his way from Tripoli to get the plane into Benghazi, to get from that airport to the CIA annex, and ultimately laid down his life saving all those Americans over there. And the next day around noon, I got that phone call. And it's funny because like it's a phone call I would never normally answer. It was like 858 number, and I'm a 760 guy, so I'm like, I'm not answering that. But some little voice in my head spoke up, talk about the hand speaking to you, and said, answer that call. So I did. I said, is this Mr. Lake? I said, yes. He said, I need you to return to your home on, X address in Encinitas. We have some news to share with you. I said, all right. And I'm like, my heart just sank. Like I knew I had to get home. So I, zipped right home. And sure enough, there's 2 black SUVs parked in front of my house with a bunch of people in like the black suits with whites, the black ties. Like it's literally out of a movie. And, CIA operative walks up, shakes my hand and says, we regret to inform you that Glen Doherty's, he's died. And I was like, I knew. Okay. And that was, if Kokora was a shift in my life, this was the next shift. Meeting my wife, the most significant shift. In that moment of losing Glen, just everything changed. He was best friends to hundreds and hundreds of people, and I was the executor of his estate. I became this shepherd of his legacy, if you will. His family, like we all shared in it, but it was like, hey, the buck stops with me. And there's a radical shift in there to honor this most epic human, this seeker of adventure, this my compadre, my best friend. And there's a lot of sadness in all of that, but there was also a lot of inspiration and goodness. Like, man, I couldn't ask for a better fucking North Star in the world than Bub. So when the idea of the company came about, it felt right. And like, you guys didn't eat Mafia because it felt right. It wasn't like, hey, podcasts are cool. We're going to do a cool thing because they're cool. You guys did it because you had a life transformative experience and it was worth sharing. It was worth jumping up on that pulpit on the street corner and evangelizing the world to this great message. And guess what? 3 years later, here you are. Same thing with Glen and being involved in the business. I would look to him for inspiration when it got low. Like when I was like, this isn't working, this isn't worth it. And there's that little voice. And I jokingly call it the what would Glen do? WWGD. I'm like, what would Glen do? And I always know the answer to that. And I have this North Star, and it's the quality of the product. It's the integrity of everything that we do that I am proud to like offer as a gift here. And I'm like, I can't wait for you guys to try this stuff. It's the next stuff that we have coming out. It's like the new products and the ideation behind it. It's weird marketing ideas that I would never normally say yes to, but Glen was kind of a kooky wild guy. So what would he do? And it's like, yeah, go for it. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But guess what? Not all of his decisions worked either, but it's an epic North Star. And, like I'm grateful to have that. I'm grateful to have that in business. And I realize that that's an amazing thing to have in your back pocket. So yeah, he's there, and I definitely feel that hand. And I'm more in tune to like connect with and call it spirituality. And, like he had this thing for hummingbirds in our yard. There were always hummingbirds buzzing around, and it became kind of this symbol after he died. Like you'd be thinking of Glen, you see a hummingbird. It's like, the fuck, how'd that happen?
Yeah.
And that became so regular. Like, oh, I'm thinking of something. There's a hummingbird. What would Glen do? There's this like easy connection point there, and that's spiritual. Like that happens, and I'm like, wow, what are the chances? Well, don't analyze it like that. It's only weird if you question it. Just go with it. Yeah. I've learned that. So, and I'm sure you guys have those moments too. They're good because they lead you to the right place if you let it.
Definitely. Yeah, it's almost like it's very interesting because as you've been telling this whole story, it was very clear that while he was living, he had such a big impact on you and pushed you. And you were talking about, the CrossFit gym with Mark Devine and him getting you into all these workouts and coaching, and he was a natural at all this stuff. And then I didn't even think about this, that, he's still pushing you in so many ways, like through this brand. And it's almost like you've created the most beautiful skin in the game for yourself and your team and your family, because there's no option to fail.
No,
Basically.
damn it. It's like, it's so tough being friends with these guys.
Yeah.
Navy SEALs are insanely hardcore motherfuckers, and I'm a washed up snowboarder. So yeah, having them, having that presence in my life has been, I mean, look, I'll call it a blessing. Like it's not anything I thought I never sought it. It was just how life played its hand. And so now to be able to tap into that has been amazing. And I would give anything to have Glen back, and he'd be sitting right next to me and he'd be hogging the mic and telling you all the great stories, because he was a storyteller. I'm just trying to, do what I can in his absence, but I've got that inspiration and I've got that legacy to play with, and it's the most natural thing to guide us. And, it's interesting because my wife made this observation just the other day. She's like, I only knew Glen for like 2 years.
Wow.
It's true. He died in, 9/11 or 9/12 in 2012. We'd only been dating for like 2 years at that point. Like, oh, wow, you're right. Like, what a wild thing to consider. Like, she's had like, what is it, 11, 12 years, 13 years now of not having him, but she had that amazing time with him that was that transformative. That's how impactful he was on people. Like, folks that only knew him those last couple of years, they were his best friend. He was their best friend. That's powerful stuff.
Was there a moment in your guys' friendship where you realized that you were going to be lifelong friends? You guys were going to just do stuff together for a very long time?
Yeah, I would say like that winter that we moved to Utah was the defining one, because before that, we're all running around. We're high school. There's like, there's 10 of us that are all in this crowd together. We're all thick as thieves. But Glen was always the centerpiece of that. Like, he was the rallier. He was probably the most popular one. We were kind of the nerd crowd in high school, playing Dungeons and Dragons and like, but Glen was on the wrestling team, so he was cooler. And when he took off to college, and then a year later I took off to college, and then we would always team up in those moments, like coming home for Thanksgiving, coming home for Christmas. That's when those plans started hatching. And like, no one else wanted to have those plans. So there was that like, all right, we are cut from the same cloth. Like, we're meant to do this. And the idea of going ski bumming for a year to test it out, like, no one else was thinking to really do that. I was like, wait, what are you going to do? And then we were like, yeah, we have to do this. And that just like cemented it. That year adventure really cemented it. My brother joined us, my older brother, and he did his 1 year, and then he went back to college and knocked out his degree. And for Glen and I was like, no, this is the calling. This is the way. And that fed us and fueled us. And then when all our friends had graduated college and they all had their regular jobs, we didn't like laugh at them. We were like, oh, that's amazing. We actually don't know if we could do that. Like, I don't know if I could. The only way I think I made it through college was by doing it with the adventure, with the dopamine in between, to make sitting in that classroom worth it, because I had my eye on a bigger prize. When Glen decided to join the Navy, he wanted to see what he was made of. He wanted that challenge, and I did too. I wanted it in the mountains. I wanted it in different areas. So it was early though. It was definitely in those teenage years that we realized that clicked. And then, like, people lose touch. And this is before Facebook. This is before social media and Instagram and TikTok, and everyone's like chatting. You're texting people on like tick, tick, tick phones, like flip phones and stuff. Like, you were using a pager. So, when Glen was in the Navy early on, like, it was payphones. Like, you get a phone call from someone, you're going to lock down, everything stops, and you're on the phone for the next hour, like just jamming with your best friend. But that inspiration and those, like, you're lucky to have a friend or two like that in your whole life. And I'm grateful to have had that with Glen. Like, and we fed off each other, like, make no mistakes, towards the end of those last couple of years when we were at Mark Devine's gym, like, I was hell-bent at beating him at every workout we did. Like, but that's that fire, like, that's that energy. Like, that was the fun stuff. Like, I beat him at a workout, he would never hear the end of it. And then he would beat me to work out, and I'd have to jaw, and listen to it until I could beat him at the next time. And we're just going back and forth and back and forth. And then it became like how we're giving each other advice. How are we listening to each other? How are we responding to each other's highs and lows? And that all really happened later. Like in your 20s, you're just kind of invincible and doing whatever. In your 30s, you're starting to see where those challenges are coming in, and where you're like, oh, this is kind of scary, this life thing, and these big decisions, and getting married and getting divorces, and, like leaving a job is the only job you know how to do. In his case, it was the Navy. What do you do next? Like, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. Starting a company, right? Talk about scary stuff. So it was really good to have a co-pilot for that. And it was really, I'm grateful for those experiences to fuel me today. And yeah, man, honestly, like when you know, and you can meet those friends, I believe, later in life.
Definitely.
I was lucky. I got to meet them early.
Yeah.
Yeah, but especially you have to navigate so much of life together too. I mean, even you guys being in your 30s and living together, like that's not common to do that.
No,
Yeah.
literally, like, dude's 43, like going to deploy in Benghazi, and he's telling me not to kill the plants on his way out the door. And, I'm like, yeah, we've been living together since I was 39 years old, and I was 42 at the time or whatever. I'm like, yeah, this is probably not what I had scripted. I thought I'd be like married with kids and doing all that stuff. Maybe I don't even know, because I never actually planned that until I met Heather. So yeah, it was definitely unconventional, a non-linear career path, if you will. There you go.
It's special. I think, when you are someone who like seeks adventure and wants to see what you're capable of, you need to have those mirrors into like those other souls out there who are just like, I'm going to send it. I'm going to do the hard thing. I want to be on an adventure like that as well. So I think just like coming across those people and being able to go through seasons of life with someone like that, who's a high performer, but also someone who wants that edge of life and to kind of live out there on that edge a little bit is special.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And to have that in someone like him, who's also so outgoing. That's why when I say he was friends to hundreds of people, like that's rare. Like I might have hundreds of people in my phone, but they're not best friends. And that's how impactful he was, how genuine he was. Like, Harry, he'd meet you and be like, you tell him a story. A year later, he'd check in on that story with you. Like, hey, how's that one thing going? You'd be like, how do you remember that? Like, I just said that in passing. Like, he was locked in and he cared. And we're lucky to meet people in life that care, that want to know, they want to know how you're doing. And otherwise, it's just small talk and bullshit. Like, one key takeaway from this gathering is I'm a resource in what I've learned about putting powder into a jar. And if I can help you guys, whether it's logistics and like what you're doing, like in shipping, like I need to be there for you. I don't have a choice. I want to be there for you. And you guys are doing good work. I want, like, let me help if I can help. If I can't help, hey, no big deal. But how can we all collectively help each other? That sense of community, not just in our industry, but like in life. Where do you find those groups? Where do you find those people? Like Glen would be the rallier. Like, okay, I'll rally. And I think it's an important calling for all of us to be able to do that and like help each other out along the way. Like, hey, there's plenty of people that have made all the mistakes before me. I'm lucky to know a few of them now. And then now I've learned about those mistakes along the way. Cool. Maybe I can share them with you guys. Maybe you haven't made those mistakes yet. Let me help you with those. Yeah. And it's great. It's great to be able to have that, in kind of woven into us, to know, to be able to extend yourself and be there to help, to go help your friend out at that race, to, hey man, I got my Hokas on, let's go. Like, that's awesome stuff, man. That's the juice that's worth squeezing. Like, that's the freaking awesome stuff. And I don't ever want to lose that. And again, I got a couple laps around the sun on you gentlemen, but like, I can tell you that I intend to do this exact same shit 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Hopefully my wife's cool with that.
I can tell you this. I think one of my life metrics going forward is going to be if I'm 53 dropping the word Stoke on a podcast, I've done things the right way.
Yeah.
And I think you've done.
There we go.
a few
Thank you.
Well, it's funny too. We were talking about this. Harry and I were talking about this when we were walking in. So we've done over 400 episodes of the show, and transitioning from 2024 to 2025, it's always just been like, how do we always keep the creative juice to the podcast while trying to build Noble, trying to do the marketing agency and all these different goals that we have. And I think one of the things that we were talking about was kind of fizzling out of 2024. We were trying to reclaim that creative juice. And so, not that we took that much of a hiatus, but we just slowed down the podcast a little bit, toned it back. Harry's been doing some solo episodes. I've been doing some solo episodes. So we figured out that this podcast is the first interview that we've done together since 2024. Was it November?
Yeah, I think it was the beginning of December.
Yeah.
It's almost half a year, gentlemen.
I know.
That's wild.
But I'm telling you, man, I think you're feeling the same thing. Like after talking to you, I think there's a reason. I think God wanted us to have three of us to have this conversation for you to be that interview.
Yep. It's only strange if you question it, right? That's that casual spirituality, if you will. Like, like it's funny because I listened to a couple episodes before I came in. I wanted to tune up, and they were solos. You weren't together.
Yeah.
And that was my first question to Chad. I was like, well, who do I get? Do I get Harry? Do I get Brett? Like what,
What's the deal?
You get both? Oh shit. Well, okay, let's go. But you're right. Like that's that stuff. We're meant to have this conversation. And like, that's the cool stuff. Like, that's why today worked out, hey, let's find a studio. Let's go. Let's make this happen.
Yeah.
There's a reason why you're in the product that you're in. There's a reason why you started this podcast. There's a reason why you guys met in college. And there's a reason why for meeting in college, you decided to go for the next challenges and the next challenges. And there'll be some that are apart, but you'll be there to support each other for those too. Like, that's the good stuff. I think that's what we're all here for.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. Well, we really appreciate him. Appreciate Josh Trent connecting us. That was a major
he's the
call out, and yeah, him making that connection was huge.
Yeah. Josh is a connector of people. He has an intuition about him. And like, it wasn't like it was a choice. Like, hey, Shaun, do you want to meet these people? It was, you're going to meet the Meat Mafia, and that is how it's going to be. I'm like, okay. But he also knows me well enough to know, like, I'm like, sure, man, that sounds great. Yeah. I'm flying to Austin. I'll tack on an extra day. Let's go.
Yeah.
And well worth it.
Oh my gosh. We appreciate you, man. Seriously. This is one of the most juice conversations in a long time. We touched on everything.
I don't think, unless we want to really nerd out on the benefits of glycine and collagen peptides, I think we've covered our bases here.
Yeah. Well, we can't wait to try the product too. Like, just right up our alley in terms of what we're all about. Just high quality, and the collagen is incredible. And then we've got the MCT oils here.
Instant coffee.
Yep. So literally, I will close on this note on the idea of what collagen does for your body, because you guys are on the front end of this, and better to get ahead of it now than to have to chase it later. And take it from me, like someone who discovered collagen in his 40s, like I'm grateful that I discovered collagen for what it's done for me. But at the end of the day, all it is a glue. Collagen is a protein. It is the most abundant protein in the human body. It's crazy to think about. You have more collagen in your body than any other protein. Your hair, your skin, your nails, your skin. Your entire body is skin. Your intestines, your muscles, your joints. Think about that. Like, that's everything.
That's the whole thing.
It's the whole thing, guys. Your organs, you don't get it there, or not as much. But your body stops producing collagen naturally in your 20s. Like, it just turns it off. So this is the whole idea of like exogenously ingesting something to trigger an endogenous production of something. And this happens with other proteins and other products. You take it from outside the body, and it triggers the natural production inside the body. And I am no lab coat scientist. I know that it worked for me. Well, what is it? It's ground up cowhide. It's ground up cowhide in just the right ratio and sequence of amino acids, proline, hydroxyproline, glycine, like it does all these wonderful things for your connective tissue. It's a glue. It's a binding protein that holds your body together. Hair, skin, nails, muscles, joints. And it literally produces synovial fluid, lubricating your joints. The muscle recovery element. It's not going to get you bulked up on muscle. That's what your protein's for. But it's going to do amazing things for your overall connective tissue health. And I'm like, what an amazing thing. This is the frickin' fountain of youth in the form of ground up cowhide. Like, you need that. When I look at our MCT oil, it's literally coconut oil. It is 2 ingredients in this jar. It is coconut oil and tapioca starch. And all tapioca starch is powdered up cassava root. So coconut oil broken into a medium chain triglyceride, it's a shorter chain fatty acid in the bloodstream, breaks through the blood-brain barrier, and think mental focus, and your body's juiced on those healthy fats for energy. And then tapioca starch is creamy and delicious. Like, it's literally diet friendly for every diet you want to run. And you can just scoop up your coffee, and next thing you know, you got rocket fuel for the day.
This is the thing I'm most pumped to try. I feel like I operate best on like MCT oil, coconut oil, fat. Just, clean fuel. Like go like first half of the day just on MCT oil, and it's like as good as it gets.
Literally, that is going to be an absolute game changer for you. And there's not too much. Like, I think there's a fine line with MCTs if you don't have a big tolerance for it. There's 5 grams per scoop. You go 15, 20, you might be hitting the toilet a little rough. So, operate with caution, but there's 5 grams per scoop. So it's like, hey, have a cup of coffee, put it in there. You're going to feel the difference. And unlike collagen, where, it takes a while, it takes 3 weeks, maybe a month, maybe 2 weeks. Like, it takes a while before you feel those effects. And those effects are transformative. But who doesn't want that kick of energy first thing in the morning? Just be like, all right, I'm revved up, ready to go.
You can feel it. You can feel the electricity in your brain, the sharpness and the quickness and everything like that. I'm Jones going to take a scoop of our chocolate with the unflavored collagen, the MCT, the coffee.
Oh,
Full magic.
Yeah.
magic blend.
Are you
Stack that.
tomorrow? I'm going to have to bring a little craft of it. Get you juice for Josh Trent. You'll be talking a mile a minute.
So I get on with Josh.
To Josh Trent tomorrow.
Let's go. I'm all about it. Yep, bring some by. We'll be at his house bright and early tomorrow, and I can always use a little rocket fuel.
Yeah, we have a couple extra bags of chocolate at the house too, so we'd love to send you home with some as well. We don't have it on us now, but we live like 5 minutes away, so maybe we could drop it off tomorrow.
Dude, amazing. Yeah, I'm literally going to spend the day with Josh, and Josh is epic. It's like, I'm so excited to get over there first thing in the morning, tap into his rituals and his morning routines, share a little bit of mine and what we do, and kind of put a little, mash that up. And then we're going to turn on the mics and do some talking, which is going to be definitely adventurous. I have listened to his questions. They're going to be heavy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm ready to get heavy with him.
Yes.
What I can say is I've really enjoyed getting heavy with you guys, because this is just an invigorating conversation. I freaking love this stuff.
Yeah. Well, I can speak for both of us. We've learned a ton just sitting here and being able to ask you questions. It's great. We're selfishly just so grateful for all the people who get to sit in that chair, because we just get to expunge as much value as we can out of it for ourselves, but also, just hearing your story and your thirst for life. It's very inspiring. I feel like both Brett and I needed to hear it, as he was saying. It's just great being around the energy and people like yourself who are going for something big and just taking big swings. So
yeah,
we appreciate it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And I also appreciate that we all got the memo to wear black t-shirts today.
Including Chad.
Yeah.
Yep, the uniform.
Chad 1000S. Yeah.
Exactly. Nice, guys. Well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean.
Cheers.